information about who's on what committee, and there's pictures of each of the legislators there as well. So if you're not really sure who you're looking for, try to find one of us. Gary, Mike Seiler, who's over there. Phil Conklin, a mainstay at the Indiana Statehouse for a couple of years now. Phil's a former state budget director and has worked very closely with us for a handful of years now, assisting us in legislative issues. He's very well known and well respected at the State House. Don't make the mistake of trying to walk through that building with him in a hurry, though, because it'll take you about an hour and a half, because every 10 feet he's got to stop and talk to somebody. Everybody knows who he is, and he's certainly affiliated with us. He's been, it's a very wonderful relationship we have, and we're fortunate to have it. Phil, anything you need to tell these folks in general?
Tell them what the rest of it is.
We will go through some creature comforts. As I was saying, normally, the last few years, we've had this activity in the State House in the atrium, where they set up some chairs and we have a little orientation. Maybe have a couple legislators or the governor come out and speak to us as a group. In the short session, the schedule is very fast-paced. There are fewer days, there's a lot of stuff going on. We couldn't get in. There are, I think, 3 different groups over there already today, but we couldn't get in. So that's why we're over here. When we leave here, we'll walk down Ohio Street over to Capitol. I'm ashamed of this, and it pisses me off every time I think about it. Up until just a few years ago, our state capitol, the People's Building, was accessible. And now you've got to go through security screenings to get in. So the only public entrances are either the east or the west entrance. So we'll go in the east entrance, which is right on Capitol where Market Street dumps into it. We'll go up the steps, go through the metal detector. I'm sure that you all will get beeped and wanded down even as you go through the metal detector. So we'll have to allow a little time for that. There are no weapons allowed, so if you've got a pocket knife or something, let's find a place to get it stashed for you, because you won't be able to get in with it. Beyond that, they're moderately cool, and it's kind of a joke screening anyway. Once we get in, as I said, the State House is a pretty friendly building to get around, but it takes a little getting used to. There are 4 levels, and the basement is actually floor 1. It seems a little confusing because most people think of the main floor as floor 1 and the basement is the basement. There are 4 starting with the basement. So the main level is actually 2. That's where the governor's office is and legislative services. There typically are restrooms on each floor just off of the rotunda. On the 2nd floor, there's a men's room. If you're at the rotunda, it would be the northwest corner, and the ladies' room is at the northeast corner. Same thing when you go up, there's a men's room on the 3rd floor, which is where the House and Senate floors are. There's a men's room just to the right of the Senate chambers, and just beyond that, to the north, farther right, is a ladies' room. Frosty.
I was going to say, my first time here, you talked about the rotunda and stuff. I didn't know what a rotunda was.
He knows where
He lives with the animals.
The rotunda is in the center of the State House. It's the big round, open structure with the dome on top. That's the center. And there's a nice sort of gathering place right there in the rotunda. There's some monuments and memorials and dedication plaques and such in there. So it really is a pretty cool building. And if you've never been here before, you might try to talk to somebody who has and see if they can give you a little self-guided tour. Or if you want to jump on one of the tours, they conduct tours all day long. Check in the tour desk, which is just to the north of the rotunda on the 2nd floor, right by the elevators. And I'm sure they'd be glad to have you. Typically they have openings. But it's a pretty neat building if you haven't seen it before. We tend to take it for granted sometimes. I've been fortunate that I've been to a number of capitals around the nation. And this is truly one of the nicest I've ever been in. It's a neat building, and we should be proud of it. Only cost a couple $1 million to build it, but it cost $11 million to renovate it. So go figure.
Jay, let me make one comment.
Certainly.
Many of you don't know your legislator, and he doesn't know or she doesn't know you. But one of the little things that you might think about is get their name, and if they have an email, get their email address. And many of you can respond when you go back home and say, it was nice meeting you, thank you very much for your time. Makes it very easy for you to communicate with them. They'll remember. And the other thing is, make them understand that you're there to help them, because they don't know much about our stuff. They really don't. So it's nice for them to say, if there's anything that comes up in motorcycling, could you give me a call, or could I come on in to see you later, some other time, kind of set the future up with your relationship. So you've got a meeting time now, it's low, and you don't have a heck of a lot you want to talk about, but you're going to set yourself up for the future, communication for the future, a little thank you for your time, and it'll work. Thank you.
Great advice. To follow up on what Phil's saying, Mike Meyer's been trying to tell you all for years, one of the best things you can do, and I know a lot of you participate in this already, back home, I mean, it's great to come here and they get to see a lot of us all in one place, and it makes a good statement. That's wonderful. But it doesn't end today. This lasts all year long. Like Phil said, communicate with them, have some correspondence, send them an email, sort of thank you, just to open that line of communication so they start to know who you are. It's real easy, when they know who you are and they see you at home, going, hey Fred, how you doing? That's golden. You know, they're already, what do you need today? What do you guys got? And they want to hear from you. If they don't know you yet, you haven't made that relationship. But the more you do that through time, the easier it is to get our issues heard and be fairly represented. Like Phil said, they want our help because they don't know. This guy's a farmer. He doesn't know a lot about motorcycles. This guy's a banker. He doesn't. They have all different kinds of backgrounds, but it's up to us to educate them on what's important to us, especially if we're their constituent living in their district. The other thing, like I said, Mike's been trying to tell everybody to do, these third house meetings back home. Typically on a Saturday morning, they'll do it, they'll meet at a local coffee shop or something. It's often hosted by maybe the League of Women Voters or some organization, the Rotary or the Lions Club or somebody. Go, because they'll have most of the folks that represent that district. 3 or 4 representatives, a couple of senators, and they're all there in one shot where you can say, hey, this is what's important to us. And it's usually a group this size or smaller. So the ratio, the relationship you have there, it's not like there are thousands of people trying to get their attention. It's pretty much one-on-one. And when it's done, you catch them at the door and talk to them. You get that time with them. Take advantage of those things. Send them emails, follow up with them. Let's talk about the survey. Typically, we've got a folder that we give you all. There are a number of reasons we didn't do that this year. One, we found that a lot of people found it redundant. You know, if they'd been here before and already had it, they didn't really want to read that.